The UK's support for Ukraine has got nothing to do with helping Ukrainians. It's got nothing to do with their sovereignty or their freedom. That is a lie that you have been told to make you hand over your money. A lot of people find this hard to understand, so let me just explain. The UK has provided around £7.8 billion to Ukraine since 2022 and has pledged an additional £3 billion every year until 2030. That's around 22 billion this decade. Where does that money actually go? It doesn't go to Ukrainians. It goes to British arms manufacturing companies like BAE Systems that are actually owned by some of the world's biggest private wealth management companies like BlackRock. And there's a lot of other private military contractors that are also owned by the world's wealthiest people. So the money is actually coming from public hands, the money that you pay for taxes, and goes to arms manufacturers that are actually owned by the world's wealthiest people. Ukraine gets weapons to kill Russians, and Russians kill Ukrainians, and the whole country gets utterly. There have been millions of people displaced. There have been hundreds of thousands dead or injured, and the economy is totally ruined, and cities have been destroyed, and it's going to take decades for Ukraine to recover. So what you're actually buying with your money is the destruction of Ukraine. Once it's destroyed, the British then earn even more money by having lucrative deals, such as the one that was negotiated last month in January 2025, called the 100-year declaration between UK and Ukraine, that has a range of preferential agreements in mining, in military, and in the energy sectors. So after the country's been destroyed, then other companies come in and secure lucrative deals to basically harvest all of the resources of Ukraine. Ukraine gets destroyed, wealthy people make a lot of money, and it's paid for by the British taxpayer. And this is a tried and tested process of imperialism. It's exactly what the UK did with Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Libya, and each one of those times they told the public that it was about bringing democracy to these places, bringing freedom to the Libyans. It's not actually about that. It's what Julian Assange said several years ago. The point is not to win war. The point is to have perpetual war so that money can be washed from the poor and be given to the rich on the back of death and destruction of other countries. That is colonialism. That's how it works. What me off is that every single time you get the same types of people falling for this shit. And there's a lot of people on the left imperialists. In fact, that's what the Labour Party is. It was the Labour Party who went to war in Iraq and told us that there were weapons of mass destruction here. These lefty imperialists that have somehow deluded themselves or are so pretentious to think that this is actually about their values being implemented in other parts of the world. It's not about bringing those values unless the values that you're talking about are destruction, colonialism, and genocide, which is actually British values. Why is it that such people refuse to see the truth about war ultimately being a huge profit-making industry? Are you just utterly stupid, or are you just so up your own so convinced of your own moral superiority that you genuinely believe that your values of democracy and human rights are what this is about? That you fail to believe that your own government is lying and deceiving you? Or is it just because you are actually the beneficiaries of this imperialist system, so you choose to ignore it, you choose to pretend that it's not happening, you are willfully blind to this reality because you are benefiting from it in some way? But I think a lot more people are now seeing straight through this shit. It's colonialism. The only novel thing about Ukraine is that it's actually Europeans colonizing Europeans. Although Irish people, if you speak with them, will give you a whole history about that. So stop believing the you're hearing in the media. Understand that this is about taking money out of public hands, money that is being paid for with your taxes, giving it to arms manufacturers, and then in turn to the shareholders of those companies. And in exchange, countries get destroyed.